The rain pelted down mercilessly as 6-year-old Ethan lay helpless in the mud, his wheelchair overturned, invisible to the hurried passers-by who splashed through puddles without a glance. A tiny hand reached out from nowhere, belonging to a girl with holes in her shoes and determination in her eyes. But no one could have predicted how this moment would change both their lives forever. We'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop a comment below and hit that like and subscribe button for more heartwarming stories that will leave you in tears. The rain came without warning, transforming the park into a muddy trap. 6-year-old Ethan Blackwood felt his specialized wheelchair lurch sideways before tipping completely, sending him face first into the cold muck. His caretaker had stepped away to take a phone call, leaving him alone for just a minute that now stretched into an eternity of humiliation. "Help!" he called out, his small voice drowned by the downpour. 3 adults hurried past, eyes averted, pretending not to see the paralyzed boy struggling in the mud. One woman actually stepped around him, muttering about being late for an appointment. Ethan's lungs burned from the effort of shouting. Born with spinal muscular atrophy, his legs had never worked, and his arms lacked the strength to pull himself up from the muddy quagmire that now held him captive. Tears mixed with raindrops on his face. Despite being the son of billionaire tech mogul Richard Blackwood, in this moment he was just a helpless child that nobody wanted to notice. "Hey, are you okay?" The voice was small but clear, cutting through the rain. Ethan turned his head to see a girl about his age, maybe a year older, wearing a jacket 2 sizes too big and shoes held together with duct tape. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, but her eyes, bright, intelligent eyes, focused intently on him. "I can't get up," he admitted, ashamed. Without hesitation, the girl dropped her worn backpack and waded into the mud. "I'm Lucy," she said matter-of-factly, as if they were meeting at a playground on a sunny day. "I'll help you." "But you'll get dirty," Ethan protested weakly, seeing her already filthy sneakers sink deeper into the muck. Lucy laughed, a surprisingly bright sound in the dreary afternoon. "Trust me, nobody at home will even notice a little more dirt." There was something both funny and sad about the way she said it. Together they managed to get Ethan into a sitting position. Lucy tried to right the wheelchair, but frowned at its weight. "This thing is heavier than my dad after watching football all Sunday," she joked, though there was a flicker of something, fear, behind her smile when she mentioned her father. "My chair costs more than most cars," Ethan explained. "It's got motors and special controls." Lucy whistled. "Fancy! My bike is made from parts of 3 different bikes. My neighbor, Mr. Wilson, helped me build it from stuff people threw away." As Lucy struggled with the chair, Ethan studied her. Despite being soaked and covered in mud, there was something dignified about her. Her clothes were worn and mismatched, but clean where they weren't now muddied. And those eyes, they sparked with intelligence and a wisdom beyond her years. "Ethan!" The booming voice cut through the rain like thunder. Richard Blackwood, 6'2" and dressed in an Italian suit, now being ruined by the downpour, came running across the park, the abandoned caretaker trailing miserably behind him. "Dad!" Ethan called, relief washing over him. Richard reached them in seconds, dropping to his knees regardless of his $3,000 suit. "Are you hurt?" "What happened?" His powerful hands checked Ethan for injuries before shooting a venomous look at the caretaker. "You're fired. Get out of my sight." "I'm okay, Dad," Ethan assured him. "Lucy helped me." For the first time, Richard seemed to notice the small, mud-covered girl, who now stood awkwardly to the side. "You helped my son?" Lucy shrugged. "Anyone would have." She glanced meaningfully at the people still hurrying past. "Well, anyone should have." Richard's expression softened as he assessed the girl, her worn clothes, the intelligent eyes, the quiet dignity. "Thank you," he said with genuine emotion. "What's your name, young lady?" "Lucy Martinez, sir." "Where are your parents, Lucy?" A shadow crossed the girl's face. Home, I guess. I was walking back from school. In this rain? Alone? Richard frowned. Dad, we should give Lucy a ride home, Ethan suggested, now safely in his father's arms. Richard nodded, snapping his fingers at his driver, who appeared with an umbrella. Of course. It's the least we can do. What none of them realized as they headed toward the gleaming black SUV at the park entrance was that across town, in the Blackwood mansion, 9-year-old Olivia Blackwood was completing her cello practice and wondering why her father was late for their weekly music recital, an appointment he had never missed before. She couldn't possibly know that a chance encounter in a rainy park was about to upend her perfectly ordered world. Lucy had never been in a car with real leather seats before. She sat perched on the edge, trying not to drip mud everywhere, despite Richard's assurances that it didn't matter. "Where do you live, Lucy?" Richard asked gently. "Westside Gardens, Building C," she replied, naming one of the most run-down apartment complexes in the city. Richard exchanged a glance with his driver that Lucy pretended not to notice. "And you're 7?" Richard continued, his business mind already calculating something. "Yes, sir. 2nd grade at Westside Elementary." She hesitated. "I'm in the gifted program, though. They let me sit in with the 4th graders for math and science." Richard's eyebrows shot up while Ethan grinned. "I'm homeschooled," he offered. "But I love science, too." As they approached the dingy apartment complex, Lucy's shoulders tensed. "You can drop me at the corner," she suggested. Richard ignored her. "We'll see you safely inside." The SUV pulled up to Building C, a grey structure with peeling paint and missing roof tiles. Richard insisted on carrying Ethan while the driver held an umbrella over them. Lucy led them up 3 flights of stairs, since the elevator had been broken for months. At apartment 3C, she hesitated before pushing open the unlocked door. "Mom, I'm home." The small apartment reeked of cigarettes and stale beer. A woman in a waitress uniform sat at the kitchen table, counting bills with a calculator. She looked up, irritation turning to surprise at the entourage in her doorway. "Lucy! Who are these people?" She stood quickly, smoothing her hair, eyes darting nervously to the dirty dishes in the sink and the laundry piled on the couch. "Mom, this is Ethan and his dad. Ethan fell in the park and they gave me a ride home because of the rain." Rosa Martinez approached cautiously, her eyes widening as she recognized Richard Blackwood. Anyone in the city would know the billionaire's face from newspapers and charity galas. "Mr. Blackwood," she stammered, Thank you for bringing Lucy home. I'm sorry about the mess." "Please," Richard raised a hand, "I'm the one who's grateful. Your daughter helped my son when no one else would. She's quite remarkable." Rosa looked at Lucy with new eyes, a hint of pride breaking through her perpetual exhaustion. "She's a smart girl, too smart for her own good sometimes." From a back bedroom came a crash, followed by cursing. Rosa flinched. "My husband," she explained unnecessarily. "He's resting." "Daddy lost his job at the factory," Lucy explained matter-of-factly. "He's been resting a lot since then." Richard's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Mrs. Martinez, I wonder if I might speak with you and your husband about an opportunity for Lucy." Before Rosa could respond, a large man appeared in the hallway, unshaven and bleary-eyed. "Who the hell is this?" Frank Martinez demanded, swaying slightly. "Frank, this is Mr. Blackwood. His son—" "I don't care who he is. Why is he in my house?" Frank moved toward Richard aggressively, but stopped when he noticed Ethan in Richard's arms. Something in the disabled boy's presence seemed to deflate him. Lucy stepped between her father and the visitors. "Dad, they just gave me a ride home because of the rain. I helped Ethan when he fell." Frank looked from his daughter to the obviously wealthy visitors, his bloodshot eyes calculating. "Well, ain't that nice of you?" he said, his tone shifting to something oily. "Lucy's a real helpful girl, always thinking of others, right, Rosa?" Rosa nodded quickly, her eyes down. Richard's expression remained impassive, but his voice cooled several degrees. Indeed. In fact, I'd like to offer Lucy a scholarship to Westbrook Academy, where my daughter attends. It's a school for gifted children, and based on what I've seen today, Lucy would thrive there. The room went silent. Lucy's eyes grew wide with disbelief, while her parents exchanged loaded glances. Westbrook, Rosa whispered. But that's the best private school in the state, Richard finished. All expenses paid, including uniforms, supplies, and transportation. Frank's demeanor changed instantly. Well now, that's mighty generous. Our little Lucy deserves the best, doesn't she, Rosa? His arm went around his wife's shoulders in a grip that made her wince. May I think about it? The small voice came from Lucy, surprising everyone. Richard looked at her with newfound respect. Of course. Here's my card. Have your parents call me when you've decided. As they prepared to leave, Ethan whispered something to his father. Richard nodded and addressed Lucy again. We're having a small gathering at our home this weekend, a science demonstration that I arranged for Ethan. Perhaps you'd like to come. You might meet some students from Westbrook. Lucy's face lit up before she caught her father's warning glance. I'd have to ask my parents, she said carefully. Nonsense, Frank boomed. Of course she'll be there. Right, Rosa? Across town, Olivia Blackwood sat at the grand piano, repeatedly checking her watch. Her father had missed their music session for the first time in years. When the housekeeper mentioned that Mr. Blackwood called about bringing a guest to Master Ethan's science presentation, Olivia felt the first twinge of unease. Her father never invited strangers into their home, especially not where Ethan was concerned. Little did she know that the guest in question was currently staring at a business card embossed with the Blackwood Industries logo, wondering if fairy tales sometimes came true after all. The Blackwood estate sprawled across 5 acres of manicured grounds, complete with a private lake and helicopter pad. Lucy, dressed in her Sunday best, a faded blue dress and her only pair of non-broken shoes, stood frozen at the massive iron gates, clutching her mother's hand. Maybe this was a mistake, Rosa murmured, equally intimidated. Frank had conveniently developed a migraine that morning, though his condition hadn't prevented him from giving Lucy strict instructions. Make sure that rich guy knows how grateful we are. This is your shot, kid. Don't blow it. A security guard approached. Martinez, you're expected. Please follow the drive to the main house. They walked the quarter-mile driveway in silence, Lucy taking in every detail, the perfectly trimmed hedges, the burbling fountains, the glimpse of what looked like a small observatory dome beyond the main house. Richard Blackwood greeted them at the door himself, dressed casually in what Lucy suspected was still obscenely expensive clothing. Lucy, Mrs. Martinez, welcome. Please come in. The foyer alone was bigger than their entire apartment. Lucy tried not to gawk as Richard led them through the mansion to a large sunroom where several adults in business attire mingled while a handful of children gathered around some contraption in the center. Ethan's been asking about you all morning, Richard confided to Lucy. He doesn't often connect with other children. Ethan spotted them from across the room. His face lit up as he maneuvered his wheelchair toward them with expert precision. Lucy, you came! Come see this. It's a Tesla coil I built with my tutor. Rosa gently pushed Lucy forward. Go on, I'll just wait here. Richard touched Rosa's arm. Actually, Mrs. Martinez, I'd like to introduce you to some people. Lucy will be fine with Ethan. As her mother was whisked away, Lucy followed Ethan to the center of the room where a metal contraption sparked and hummed, sending small lightning bolts dancing between metal rods. A balding man in a lab coat supervised, while several children watched in fascination, all except one. A girl with perfect blonde curls and a designer dress stood apart from the group, arms crossed, her eyes narrowing as Lucy approached. Everyone, this is my friend Lucy, Ethan announced proudly. Lucy, this is Professor Winters, my science tutor, and some kids from Westbrook Academy. The children murmured hellos, sizing up the newcomer with the polite cruelty that wealthy children often perfect early. Only the professor seemed genuinely pleased to meet her. "So you're Lucy. Ethan's told me all about how you helped him. Do you like science?" "Yes, sir," Lucy nodded, "especially astronomy. I want to work for NASA someday." The blonde girl snorted softly. "NASA? Don't you need like a college degree for that?" Her tone implied this was clearly impossible for someone like Lucy. Ethan frowned. "Lucy's in the gifted program, Olivia. She does math with fourth graders." So this was Olivia, Ethan's sister. Lucy offered a smile, which was not returned. "Well," Professor Winters said, clearing his throat, "perhaps you'd like to help us with the next demonstration? We're going to show how electricity can create music." For the next hour, Lucy forgot about Olivia's glares as she helped connect circuitry and explain principles to the other children, many of whom seemed surprised by her knowledge. Professor Winters watched her closely, occasionally exchanging glances with Richard, who observed from the periphery. During a break for refreshments, Lucy found herself cornered by Olivia near a chocolate fountain that seemed like something from a dream. "So," Olivia said, her voice honey-sweet, but her eyes cold, "Daddy says he's giving you a scholarship to Westbrook." Lucy carefully dipped a strawberry in the cascading chocolate. "He offered one." "I haven't decided yet," Olivia laughed, a tinkling sound devoid of warmth. "Haven't decided? Are you stupid? Do you know how many people would kill for that opportunity?" "I'm not stupid," Lucy replied evenly, "and nobody should kill for school." "It was a figure of speech," Olivia snapped, "but listen carefully. Westbrook is my school. I'm the top student in my grade, president of the junior science club, and lead cellist in the youth orchestra. And Daddy is my father." Lucy met Olivia's gaze directly. "I know who your father is, and Ethan is your brother, though you've barely spoken to him all day." A flash of something, guilt, defiance, crossed Olivia's perfect features before her mask of disdain returned. "You don't know anything about my family. I know Ethan built that Tesla coil mostly himself, which is amazing for anyone, especially a 6-year-old with physical limitations. And I know you haven't congratulated him once." Olivia leaned closer, her voice dropping. "You think you're so smart. You think because you helped Ethan one time you can just walk into our lives? Well, enjoy it while it lasts. Daddy gets these projects, sometimes, trying to save the world one charity case at a time, but he always loses interest." Before Lucy could respond, Richard approached with Rosa and a distinguished-looking woman in a tailored suit. "Lucy, I'd like you to meet Dr. Eleanor Phillips, the headmistress of Westbrook Academy. She's very interested in meeting you." Olivia immediately transformed, her face blossoming into a radiant smile. "Dr. Phillips, I was just telling Lucy about our wonderful science program." Dr. Phillips nodded warmly at Olivia before turning her attention to Lucy. "Mr. Blackwood tells me you have quite an aptitude for mathematics and science, young lady." "She helped me build the music Tesla coil," Ethan chimed in, wheeling over to join them. "She understood the principles right away, even the electromagnetic field modulation." Dr. Phillips raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "Really? Perhaps you'd like to visit the campus next week, see our laboratories?" Lucy glanced at her mother, who nodded encouragingly despite looking overwhelmed. "I'd like that very much," Lucy replied. As they made arrangements, none of them noticed Olivia slipping away, her face darkening as she pulled out her phone and typed a message to her best friend. "Emergency. That charity case is actually coming to Westbrook. Need a plan, now." What Olivia didn't realize was that her father, ever observant, had noticed both her animosity toward Lucy and her abrupt departure. Richard Blackwood hadn't built a technology empire by missing details, and as he watched his daughter's retreating form, he made a mental note to address the situation before it escalated. Unfortunately, he had no way of knowing it was already too late. The first day at Westbrook Academy was like stepping into another universe. Lucy stood in her brand-new uniform, navy blazer with the school crest, crisp white blouse and pleated skirt, clutching a leather backpack filled with supplies she'd been too nervous to fully unpack the night before. Richard had arranged for the school's car service to pick her up, saving her from having to explain to her classmates why she lived in a crumbling apartment building with bars on the windows. As the luxury sedan pulled through Westbrook's imposing gates, Lucy's stomach twisted into knots. "You must be our new scholarship student." The administrative assistant greeted her warmly. "Dr. Phillips is expecting you, right this way." Dr. Phillips's office gleamed with dark wood and leather, walls lined with academic awards, and photographs of the headmistress with various dignitaries. "Lucy, welcome to Westbrook. How are you feeling?" "Nervous," Lucy admitted. "Everything here is so different," Dr. Phillips supplied with a gentle smile. "It's a big change, but Mr. Blackwood speaks very highly of your abilities. I've assigned Olivia to be your student guide today, since you already know each other." Lucy's heart sank. "Oh, that's great. If Dr. Phillips noticed her lack of enthusiasm, she didn't show it. Excellent. She should be here right on time." Olivia appeared in the doorway, her uniform perfectly pressed, her smile firmly in place. "Good morning, Dr. Phillips. I'm ready to show our new student around." As soon as they were out of earshot, Olivia's smile vanished. "Let's get something straight. At school, you don't know me, you don't talk to me, and you definitely don't sit with me at lunch." "I thought you were my guide," Lucy said, confused. Olivia rolled her eyes. "I'm showing you where your classes are. That's it. After that, you're on your own." She pointed out the facilities with brisk efficiency. The state-of-the-art laboratories, the Olympic-sized swimming pool, the music rooms filled with instruments that probably cost more than Lucy's entire apartment building. Third-grade classrooms are down that hall. Your homeroom is 3B, lunch is at 12:30. Don't be late or they run out of the good desserts. Olivia checked her watch. "Any questions? No? Great, bye." She turned to leave, but Lucy called after her. "Why do you hate me so much? I never did anything to you." Olivia spun around, her eyes flashing. "You really want to know? Because for 6 years I was the perfect daughter. Straight A's, music competitions, science fairs. I won everything, and my father barely noticed because he was too busy with Ethan and his special needs and his army of doctors. Then you come along and suddenly he's talking about you at dinner. Lucy this, Lucy that. Isn't Lucy remarkable?" Her voice rose in a mocking imitation of her father's. Lucy stood silent, absorbing this unexpected outburst. "So no, I don't hate you," Olivia continued, her voice dropping to a hiss. "I just don't need another person stealing what little attention I get from my father, especially not some charity case from the wrong side of town." With that, she stalked off, leaving Lucy alone in the gleaming hallway. Lucy's first class, advanced mathematics, proved challenging but exhilarating. For once, she didn't have to hide her intelligence or slow down for others. The teacher, Mr. Abernathy, seemed genuinely impressed with her contributions. By lunchtime, Lucy had begun to relax slightly. She found her way to the cafeteria, a sunlit space that resembled an upscale restaurant more than a school lunchroom, and joined the queue, marveling at options that included sushi and fresh pasta stations. "You must be Lucy," a friendly voice interrupted her reverie. A dark-haired girl with round glasses smiled at her. "I'm Zoe. Want to sit with us? We have room." Grateful, Lucy followed Zoe to a table where 2 other girls sat. They introduced themselves as May and Abigail, neither showing any sign that they found Lucy's presence unusual. "So you know Olivia Blackwood?" May asked after they'd settled in. Lucy hesitated. Sort of. I'm friends with her brother." The three girls exchanged glances. "Olivia doesn't usually hang out with new students," Abigail said carefully. "She doesn't hang out with me," Lucy clarified. "She made that pretty clear." Zoe nodded sagely. "That's more like the Olivia we know. No offense, but she's kind of the worst," May finished bluntly. "Brilliant, but terrible." "She wasn't always like that," Abigail added. "She used to be nice back in first grade. Then her brother got really sick and she just changed." Lucy frowned. "Sick? You mean his condition?" The girls looked confused. "No, his cancer," Zoe said. "He was diagnosed when he was 3. That's why he uses a wheelchair. The tumor damaged his spine. Didn't you know?" Lucy shook her head slowly, pieces falling into place. No wonder Olivia resented her. While her brother was fighting for his life, she'd been competing for her father's attention. And now Lucy appeared, connecting with both Ethan and Richard in ways Olivia couldn't seem to. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion across the cafeteria. Olivia stood surrounded by a group of girls, all looking in Lucy's direction and giggling. One pointed, another whispered, and then the entire group erupted in laughter. Lucy felt her face burn, but before she could react, Zoe stood up. "Ignore them. Come on, I'll show you the library. It's the best place in school anyway." As they left, Lucy couldn't help glancing back at Olivia, who watched her departure with a triumphant smile. Whatever Olivia had planned, this was clearly just the beginning. The library, as promised, was magnificent. 3 stories of books, comfortable reading nooks, and advanced computer stations. Lucy ran her fingers along the spines of astronomy books she'd only ever dreamed of reading. "This is amazing," she breathed. "I thought you'd like it," Zoe grinned. "Hey, we have a coding club that meets here on Thursdays. You should join us." The rest of the day passed in a blur of advanced classes and navigating the complex social landscape of Westbrook. By the time the final bell rang, Lucy felt both exhausted and exhilarated. As she headed toward the pickup area where the Blackwood car would be waiting, she heard urgent whispers from around a corner. Curious, she slowed her steps. "Absolutely not." It was Olivia's voice, sounding angrier than Lucy had ever heard her. "Dad, you can't be serious. It's already arranged, Olivia." Richard Blackwood's tone was firm. "The Martinez family is staying in the guest house until they can find suitable housing. End of discussion." Lucy froze, her blood turning to ice. Guest house? Her family staying at the Blackwood estate? That couldn't be right. She rounded the corner to find Richard and Olivia in a tense standoff, with Ethan in his wheelchair between them, looking miserable. "Lucy!" Ethan spotted her first, his face brightening. "Did Dad tell you the good news?" "You're going to be our neighbor." Richard turned, seeming only mildly surprised to see her. "Ah, Lucy, yes, I was planning to tell you in the car. There's been an incident at your apartment building. A fire in one of the units. Nothing to worry about," he added quickly, seeing her alarmed expression. "Your family is fine, and your belongings are being packed as we speak, but the building has been deemed unsafe, so I've invited your family to stay in our guest house while you look for new accommodations." Lucy struggled to process this information. "A fire? But your mother is already at the estate," Richard continued smoothly. "She'll explain everything. Shall we go?" As they walked toward the parking area, Lucy couldn't help noticing Olivia's thunderous expression. Just before they reached the car, Olivia grabbed Lucy's arm, pulling her back slightly. "Convenient timing for a fire, isn't it?" she whispered, her voice venomous. "Almost like someone wanted to get closer to my family." "What are you talking about?" Lucy jerked her arm free. "I didn't save it," Olivia hissed. "I'm on to you, and trust me, you'll regret the day you ever set foot in our lives." As Lucy slid into the luxury car beside an excited Ethan, her mind raced. What had really happened at her apartment? Why was Olivia so convinced Lucy was somehow orchestrating these events? And most pressingly, how was she going to survive living under the same roof as someone who clearly wished she would disappear? Little did she know that the answers to these questions would reveal secrets that had been buried in the Blackwood family for years, secrets that would change all their lives forever. The Blackwood guest house turned out to be a 3,000-square-foot cottage that would have comfortably housed 3 families from Lucy's apartment building. Rosa wandered the rooms in a daze, trailing her fingers over granite countertops and staring at the walk-in closets larger than their former bathroom. Frank, however, had made himself right at home. Lucy found him sprawled on a leather sofa in the media room, surrounded by empty beer bottles, watching sports on a television screen bigger than their old living room wall. "There she is," he boomed when Lucy entered. "The golden ticket! How was fancy school, princess?" Lucy set down her backpack, noticing her mother's tight expression. "It was fine. What happened at our apartment? Mr. Blackwood said there was a fire?" Rosa and Frank exchanged a quick glance that Lucy couldn't quite interpret. "Unit 2B, Rosa explained. "The one below ours. Electrical fire. Nobody was hurt, but there's water damage to our place from the sprinklers and the fire department. The whole building's been evacuated for at least a month." "Shame about your science books," Frank added, not looking particularly upset. "But Richie Rich says he'll replace everything. Even offered your old man a job at one of his companies. Maintenance supervisor, can you believe it?" Lucy could not, in fact, believe it. Her father had been fired from his last 3 jobs for drinking on the clock. "Mr. Blackwood offered you a job. Starting Monday." Frank raised his beer in a mock toast. "Benefits and everything. Your mom, too. Some kind of administrative position. No more waitressing." Rosa smiled weakly. "It's very generous." Too generous, Lucy thought. Something wasn't adding up. "Where's all our stuff?" "Whatever could be salvaged is in storage," Rosa said. "Mr. Blackwood's staff is cleaning everything, and he insisted on buying us new clothes in the meantime." She gestured to a hallway where shopping bags from expensive stores were piled high. Lucy's suspicions deepened. "Did anyone else from our building get invited to stay in a guest house?" Frank's jovial expression darkened. "What's with the 3rd degree? You think we don't deserve a little luck after all the crap we've put up with?" "Frank," Rosa warned quietly. He subsided, taking another swig of beer. "Just be grateful, kid. For once in our miserable lives, something good is happening." Lucy retreated to the bedroom designated as hers, a sunny space 3 times the size of her old room, with a canopy bed and its own bathroom. New clothes hung in the closet, still with price tags attached. On the desk sat a top-of-the-line laptop with a note, "For your studies. RB." She sank onto the bed, overwhelmed. Everything was happening too fast. Just 2 weeks ago, she'd been an ordinary girl from a struggling family. Now she attended an elite school, lived on a billionaire's estate, and her parents had mysterious new jobs. And according to Olivia, Lucy herself was somehow responsible for all of it. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Lucy, may I come in?" Richard Blackwood stood in her doorway, looking somewhat less intimidating in casual clothes. "Of course, Mr. Blackwood. It's your house." He smiled, taking a seat in the desk chair. "Actually, while you're here, it's your house. I want you and your family to feel comfortable." "It's very big," Lucy managed. Richard laughed. "I suppose it is, compared to what you're used to. I hope the room is acceptable." "It's beautiful, thank you. And thank you for helping my parents with jobs. That's really generous." A shadow crossed Richard's face. "Not generous, necessary. Lucy, I believe in honesty, especially with children. Your intelligence deserves respect." He paused. "The fire in your building wasn't entirely an accident." Lucy's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "It appears someone may have tampered with the wiring. The fire inspector found evidence suggesting deliberate damage. Are you saying someone tried to burn down our building? But who would? I don't know, Richard interrupted. But given the timing, right after your first day at Westbrook, I'm concerned it might be related to you, to my interest in your education. Lucy's mind raced. Could Olivia have been involved? But no, even with her animosity, she wouldn't go that far, would she? There's something else you should know, Richard continued. Your father didn't just lose his factory job. He was being pursued by some unsavory characters, loan sharks. Lucy closed her eyes briefly. She'd suspected as much from the late-night arguments and mysterious phone calls. How much does he owe? Richard looked surprised at her directness. A considerable sum, but it's been taken care of. You paid off his debt. It wasn't a question. Yes. And before you ask, no, I don't expect your father to repay me. Consider it an investment in your future. Lucy felt a flicker of anger. I'm not a charity case, Mr. Blackwood. No, you're not, he agreed readily. You're an extraordinary child with remarkable potential who happens to have been born into difficult circumstances. Just as my son is an extraordinary child born into privilege who faces his own unique challenges. He leaned forward, his expression earnest. Lucy, I believe people like us, those with the means and opportunity to help others, have a responsibility to do so. Not out of charity, but because it's the right thing to do. Lucy considered this. Is that why you're helping us? Because it's the right thing. A complicated expression crossed Richard's face. Partly. But if I'm being completely honest, there's also a personal reason. He hesitated. You remind me very much of someone I used to know, someone very important to me. Before Lucy could ask who, another knock sounded. Ethan wheeled into the room, his face alight with excitement. Lucy, Dad, I've been looking everywhere for you. Can I show Lucy the observatory now, please? Richard checked his watch. I suppose so. It's getting dark, which is perfect timing anyway. Lucy followed them along a paved pathway that wound through exquisitely landscaped gardens to a small domed structure on a hilltop. Inside, a research-grade telescope pointed skyward through a retractable roof. Dad had it built for my 5th birthday, Ethan explained proudly. Professor Winters helps me with research projects. We're tracking a comet right now. For the next hour, Lucy forgot all her worries as Ethan guided her through the cosmos, showing her nebulae and star clusters she'd only seen in library books. Richard watched from a corner, smiling at their shared enthusiasm. They were so engrossed that none of them noticed Olivia standing in the doorway, her expression unreadable as she observed her father's obvious pride in both children's knowledge. Later, as Lucy walked back to the guest house under a canopy of stars, a figure stepped from the shadows, startling her. Enjoying your new life? Olivia's voice was cool in the darkness. Lucy sighed. I didn't ask for any of this, Olivia. Didn't you? How convenient that your building caught fire the very day you started at my school. How perfect that your family needed a place to stay, right next door to us. Mister. Blackwood thinks someone might have started that fire on purpose, Lucy countered. Do you know anything about that? Olivia's sharp intake of breath was audible in the quiet night. Are you accusing me of arson? No! I'm just saying... You think I'd risk people's lives just because I don't like you? What kind of person do you think I am? Lucy faltered, realizing how her question must have sounded. I didn't mean... Save it. Olivia's voice had turned glacial. You've got everyone fooled with your poor little genius act, even my father. But I see right through you. She stepped closer, her face pale in the moonlight. I found out something interesting today. Did you know there are camera feeds from all over the estate, including the observatory? I watched you and Ethan and my father tonight. Quite the little family you're building. We were just looking at stars, Lucy protested. This time, Olivia agreed. But my father keeps a journal in his study. Want to know what I read in it today? Lucy's stomach dropped. You shouldn't be reading your father's private. Lucy reminds me so much of Sarah, Olivia quoted, ignoring Lucy's objection. The same intelligence, the same determination. It's almost like seeing her again. Lucy frowned. Who's Sarah? A triumphant smile spread across Olivia's face. That's exactly what I intend to find out, because whoever she is, she's the real reason my father is so interested in you. Not your brain, not your sad story, you're just a replacement for someone named Sarah. How does it feel to be second best? With that parting shot, Olivia melted back into the darkness, leaving Lucy standing alone under the vast, indifferent stars, wondering who Sarah was, and why Richard Blackwood saw her ghost in a 7-year-old girl from the wrong side of town. 3 weeks passed in a blur of contradictions. At school, Lucy thrived academically while navigating Olivia's subtle sabotage. At the Blackwood estate, she divided her time between stargazing with Ethan and tiptoeing around her increasingly volatile father, who spent his salary primarily at local bars. "Lucy," Rosa called, "Mr. Blackwood invited us to dinner at the main house tonight." "Wear your nice dress." Lucy found her mother polishing silverware. "Mom, why are you doing their dishes?" Rosa looked embarrassed. "Just helping. Their housekeeper is sick." The door banged open. Frank stumbled in, clearly intoxicated despite it being barely 5 p.m. "My 2 favorite girls," he slurred. Rosa stiffened. "Frank, you promised." "Tonight is important." "Relax. Just had a couple with the guys after work." He winked at Lucy. "Gotta celebrate having a genius daughter, right? Our little meal ticket." After much coaxing, Frank eventually cleaned up, and the 3 Martinezes walked to the main house. Lucy wore her nicest dress, another gift from Richard, while her parents had also been outfitted in new clothing. Ethan greeted them at the door. "Lucy, I've been waiting all day. Dad's got a surprise." The Blackwood dining room could have seated 30, but tonight it was set for just 6. Richard presided at the head, with Olivia beside him, looking miserable. Conversation flowed awkwardly, with Rosa trying too hard to sound refined and Frank making too many trips to the bar cart. "I have an announcement," Richard said as dessert was served. "In recognition of Lucy's extraordinary academic performance, I've established a foundation to provide scholarships for gifted children from underserved communities. The Sarah Martinez Foundation will ensure that financial circumstances never prevent a brilliant mind from reaching its potential." The room went silent. Lucy's spoon clattered against her plate. "Martinez?" she echoed. Richard smiled enigmatically. "Yes, named in honor of 2 remarkable people." "Who's Sarah?" Lucy asked directly. Richard's expression flickered. "Someone very special who believed in education as a path to change the world. Wasn't she your sister, Dad?" Ethan asked innocently. "Half-sister, yes," Richard acknowledged. "She died many years ago." "Before I was born," Olivia added pointedly. "Dad never talks about her." Frank suddenly laughed, a harsh, unpleasant sound. "Sarah, huh? Funny coincidence, Rosa?" Rosa's face drained of color. "Frank, don't—" "My wife's middle name is Sarah," Frank continued. "Rosa Sarah Martinez." Richard's glass paused halfway to his lips. "I wasn't aware." Later, as Ethan demonstrated his swimming techniques, Lucy noticed Richard and her mother in intense conversation. Rosa's hands trembled as she spoke, and Richard's expression shifted from shock to disbelief to something like wonder. Across the pool, Olivia observed the same scene. Their eyes met briefly, a rare moment of shared confusion. When Lucy returned to the guest house that night, she found her mother sitting alone in the dark. "Mum, what's wrong? What did you and Mr. Blackwood talk about?" Rosa didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded distant. "Lucy, Do you remember those stories I used to tell you about the brave explorer who traveled among the stars?" Lucy nodded, confused by the change of subject. "You said she was searching for a new world." "Tomorrow," Rosa said, her voice breaking, "I need to tell you the truth about those stories and about who you really are." Lucy barely slept, her mother's cryptic words echoing in her mind. By morning she was determined to demand answers, but Rosa had already left for work. Frank snored on the couch, surrounded by empty bottles. At school, Lucy couldn't concentrate. Even her favorite science class failed to capture her attention. During lunch, she sat alone. "You look terrible," said a familiar voice. Olivia stood by her table. "Thanks," Lucy replied dryly. "Exactly what I needed to hear." To her surprise, Olivia sat down. "Something weird is happening with our parents." "Our parents? My dad and your mum. They were up talking until 3 a.m. I've never seen him like that, like he'd seen a ghost." Lucy decided to share. "My mom said she needs to tell me the truth about who I really am." Olivia's lips pressed into a thin line. "It's about Sarah. It has to be." For once, curiosity outweighed animosity. "What do you know about her?" Lucy asked. "Almost nothing. Dad never talks about his childhood. I found a photograph once. Dad as a teenager with a young woman. Written on the back was Richard and Sarah, summer before MIT. MIT? Lucy's eyes widened. She was at MIT. Astrophysics, I think, Olivia said. There was an obituary in Dad's study. Sarah Blackwood, promising astrophysicist, died tragically at 26. Lucy's heart pounded. Astrophysics, the same field she dreamed of pursuing. "When did she die?" Lucy asked. Olivia calculated. "Around 8 years ago, I think. 8 years. Lucy was 7. Something cold settled in her stomach. We need to find out more, she decided. Tonight." To her surprise, Olivia nodded. "Dad's hosting a charity event. The house will be full of people, but he keeps important documents in his private safe." "You know the combination," Olivia smirked. "Ethan's birthday. Dad's not very creative with passwords." That evening, while adults mingled over champagne, Lucy and Olivia enacted their plan. They played with Ethan until he grew tired, then slipped away toward Richard's study. "Keep watch," Olivia instructed, turning the safe's dial. The safe swung open, revealing documents, jewelry boxes, and a journal. Olivia grabbed the journal while Lucy examined an envelope labeled SB. Inside were newspaper clippings and photographs. One showed a beautiful young woman in a lab coat, dark hair pulled back, focused on complex equations. "That's her," Olivia whispered. "Sarah Blackwood." Another photo showed Sarah with a young man at an academic event. The caption read, "Dr. Sarah Blackwood and Dr. James Martinez receive Fellowship for Theoretical Physics Research 2017. "Martinez?" Lucy's voice caught. "Like my last name?" Lucy unfolded a letter on MIT letterhead. "It's an offer for a research position in Chile, something called the Southern Observatory Project." "Chile," Olivia repeated. "Wasn't your mom born in Chile?" Before Lucy could answer, they heard footsteps, hastily returning everything except one photograph that Lucy pocketed. They ducked into the bathroom, seconds before Richard entered with Rosa. Through the crack, they saw both looked emotional. "You should have told me years ago," Richard was saying. "I couldn't," Rosa replied. "I promised her I wouldn't. She was my sister. I had a right to know." "She was protecting all of us," Rosa insisted, "especially Lucy." "Does Frank know?" Richard asked. Rosa laughed bitterly. "Frank's not. He's not Lucy's biological father. He's never cared about the truth." Lucy felt the floor tilt beneath her. "Not her biological father? Then who?" "We need to tell Lucy everything," Richard said firmly. "Tomorrow. No more secrets." "And what about your research?" Rosa challenged. "The people who were after her research are still out there." Morning arrived with storm clouds. Lucy sat at the kitchen table, the stolen photograph in her pocket, watching rain while waiting for her mother to finish making coffee. "Mom," she said finally, "who is Sarah Blackwood?" Rosa's hand froze. Coffee overflowed the mug. "Where did you hear that name?" she asked. "That doesn't matter," Lucy replied. "What matters is that you've been lying to me my whole life," Rosa faced her daughter. "Not about loving you, but Frank isn't my real father, is he?" Rosa closed her eyes briefly. "No." "Then who is?" The front door banged open. Frank stumbled in, soaking wet and seething. "There you are, you lying bitch!" Rosa stiffened. "Frank, not now." He lurched toward her, grabbing her arm. "Overheard you and Richie Rich last night, making a fool of me." "You're hurting me," Rosa gasped. Lucy jumped up. "Stop it! Let her go!" Frank rounded on Lucy. "You're not even mine. All these years, raising another man's kid, and for what?" "Nobody was laughing," Rosa said. "Lucy doesn't know anything." "Well, she's about to learn." Frank shoved Rosa against the counter. "Your precious mother was sleeping with some fancy scientist. Then he dies in some accident, and she comes crawling back to stupid old Frank." Lucy's mind raced. The man in the photo with Sarah, Dr. James Martinez, was he her real father? "That's not how it happened," Rosa protested. "Tell me the truth," Lucy demanded, "for once in my life." A knock at the door interrupted them. Richard entered, his expression grave. "Is everything all right here?" Frank laughed bitterly. "Perfect timing. The other rich guy my wife's been sneaking around with." Richard's jaw tightened. "Mr. Martinez, you're intoxicated. Perhaps you should step outside. Perhaps you should mind your own damn business." "They are my business," Richard replied quietly. "And if you ever lay hands on Rosa or Lucy again, you'll find yourself facing assault charges." Frank hesitated, then grabbed his keys and stormed out into the rain. Lucy pulled the photograph from her pocket. "Who are these people to me?" Rosa sighed in defeat. "Sarah Blackwood was Richard's half-sister," she began. "She was also my best friend at MIT, where I was studying engineering. We were both recruited for a classified research project in Chile, developing technology to detect habitable planets." "What happened?" "I met James Martinez there, a theoretical physicist. We fell in love, married in secret because relationships within the project were forbidden." Rosa touched the photograph. "Sarah discovered something that powerful people wanted to control, something that could change humanity's future. When she refused to give them what they wanted, there was an accident at the lab." "They killed her," Lucy whispered. Richard spoke. "We believe so, though it was ruled an equipment malfunction. James realized they would come after anyone who knew about Sarah's discovery," Rosa continued. "He sent me into hiding while he secured her research. He promised to find me once it was safe. But he never did," Lucy guessed. "His plane crashed 3 months later. Another accident. I was already pregnant with you. I changed my name, married Frank for protection, and disappeared." Lucy's head spun. "So my real father was James Martinez? And someone killed Sarah Blackwood for her research. What was so important?" Before either could answer, the door burst open. Olivia stood there, rain-soaked and frantic. "Dad, come quick! It's Ethan! He's having a seizure!" Richard sprinted toward the main house with Olivia, leaving Lucy and Rosa behind in shocked silence. "We should go too," Lucy said, moving toward the door. Rosa caught her arm. "Lucy, wait! There's more you need to know. Those people who were after Sarah's research, I think they've found us." Lucy froze. "What? How?" "Strange car at the estate entrance this morning. Man asking the gardener about the new family staying in the guest house." Rosa's voice shook. "Same tactics they used before." "What do we do?" "Pack a bag. Essentials only. We need to disappear again." "But what about Ethan and school?" Lucy stopped. "We can't just run forever, Mom. Rosa knelt before her daughter. Lucy, Sarah discovered a habitable planet close enough to reach within a human lifetime. She developed framework for an engine that could get us there. Certain groups would kill to control that technology. But what does this have to do with me? Because Sarah transferred everything, all her research, all her calculations, into a secure location. A location only someone with her exact genetic makeup could access. Lucy stared, uncomprehending, then gasped. She was related to me. She was your aunt, Lucy, James's sister. But you said she was Richard's sister. Half-sister, Rosa corrected. Sarah and James were twins, separated as infants when their parents divorced. Sarah went with their mother, who later married Richard's father. Lucy struggled to process this. So Richard is my what? He's your uncle, by marriage to your father's twin sister. Rosa reached for Lucy's pendant. This necklace contains a key, a genetic key coded to the Blackwood-Martinez DNA. Lucy raced toward the main house. She found chaos, medical personnel surrounding Ethan's bed, Richard and Olivia watching helplessly. "What happened?" Lucy gasped. Olivia turned, face streaked with tears. "He just collapsed. The doctors think the cancer might be back." One of the doctors approached Richard. "We need to get him to the hospital immediately. These symptoms are consistent with cerebral hemorrhage." As they wheeled Ethan out, his hand reached weakly toward Lucy. She caught it. "Stars," he whispered. "Need to see. Stars one more time." "You will," Lucy promised. "Lots more times." Only after the ambulance departed did Lucy notice the strange man in the hallway, suit perfectly pressed, eyes following her. When he saw her looking, he touched his earpiece. "They're here," Lucy whispered. The people who had killed her father and aunt. Richard appeared beside her. "We need to talk, Lucy, now." In his study, Richard retrieved a small metal box from his safe. "Your mother told me everything," he said, "about Sarah, about James, about you." He opened the box, revealing an old flash drive with a single video file. Sarah Blackwood's face filled the screen. "Richard, if you're watching this, I'm already gone. They're going to make a weapon, but it should be humanity's salvation. The key is safe. Find Rosa and James. Find the child. Her genetic signature combined with the pendant will unlock everything. Keep her safe, Richard. She's our future." "The pendant," Richard said quietly. "May I see it?" Lucy removed the silver constellation from around her neck. Richard pressed a hidden catch. The pendant split open, revealing a microchip. "All this time," he breathed, "you were literally wearing the key around your neck." A commotion downstairs interrupted them, shouting, breaking glass. Richard's head snapped up. "They're here," he said grimly. "Nexus found us." "Stay behind me," Richard ordered, leading Lucy toward a bookcase that swung open to reveal a hidden passage. "This leads to the garage. We'll take the backup car." Lucy hesitated. "But what about my mom and Olivia?" "Rosa knows the escape protocol. Olivia's with the hospital security detail." As they hurried through the narrow corridor, Lucy's mind raced. "The hospital, that's where they'll go next. For Ethan." Richard faltered. "Why would they target Ethan?" "Because he shares your DNA, Blackwood DNA. If they know about the genetic key, they might think he can access it too." Understanding dawned. "You're right. We need to warn them." The garage held several vehicles. Richard selected an unassuming sedan. "Get in and stay down." As they sped away, Lucy glimpsed men in tactical gear entering the house. "They look like a SWAT team," Lucy observed. "How can they just invade your house?" "Nexus has government contracts," Richard explained. "They can make it look official." Richard's phone rang. Rosa's number. "Are you safe?" he asked. "Good. Change of plans. Meet us at County General. We think Ethan might be a target too." Lucy watched raindrops race across her window. "Mr. Blackwood, If I'm so important to these people, why not just give them what they want? What Sarah discovered could be humanity's greatest achievement or its deadliest weapon. The engine she conceptualized could take us to the stars or destroy cities. That's why she hid it, to ensure it would be used for the right purpose. And she trusted me with this. I'm 7! A ghost of a smile touched Richard's lips. She trusted your DNA and your mother's guidance. Sarah believed that knowledge this powerful should only be accessible when humanity was ready. They reached the hospital to find Ethan in emergency surgery for a cerebral bleed. Olivia sat alone in the waiting room. "Dad!" She ran to him. "They say Ethan might not—" Richard embraced her. "He's stronger than they know. Where's security?" Through the emergency room doors came 2 men in suits, the same ones Lucy had noticed at the mansion. "Back exit," Richard said tersely. As they turned to flee, Rosa burst through a side door. "They're everywhere!" Trapped, Richard made a split-second decision. "Maintenance corridor, this way!" They ducked into a service hallway. Richard yanked open a door to the boiler room. "There's no way out from here," Olivia protested. "There is," Richard replied, moving to a maintenance panel. Hospital was built with Cold War-era tunnel systems. The panel revealed a dimly lit tunnel. They emerged in an adjacent medical building where Richard appropriated a white coat and ID badge. "Stay here," he instructed. "I'm going to check on Ethan." After he left, the 3 sat in tense silence. "I can't believe this is happening," Olivia whispered. "Yesterday I was worried you hated me," Lucy said. "I did hate you," Olivia admitted. "But it wasn't really about you." "Feeling invisible," Lucy suggested. Olivia met her gaze. "Yeah, exactly," Richard returned, his expression carefully neutral in a way that sent ice through Lucy's veins. "Ethan?" Olivia asked fearfully. "Stable," Richard reassured her, "but Nexus agents are searching room by room." Lucy fingered her pendant. "What if we give them what they want? A decoy?" Richard studied her thoughtfully. "Who would they believe had the information?" "Me," Rosa said immediately. "I was on the original research team." "No way," Lucy protested. "They'd kill you too." "Not if we're smart," Richard said. "We need something public. Too many witnesses." Olivia spoke up. "The charity gala. It's still happening at the Peterson Art Museum tonight." "Perfect," Richard agreed. "Public venue, security, press coverage." As evening fell, they gathered in a small cafe across from the museum. Richard in his tuxedo, Rosa in a borrowed gown, the girls in hastily purchased dresses. "Remember," Richard instructed, "if anything goes wrong, get the girls out. Nothing else matters." Lucy looked between these adults who had created such tangled secrets, yet were now risking everything to protect the children they loved. "I have a better idea," she said suddenly. "What if, instead of running away, we finally stopped hiding the truth?"